Anytime I've kind of contemplated Botox or filler, I'm always like, I would rather spend that money on a tattoo or multiple tattoos with that amount.
Alexis Sunshine 83, it's always sunny here.
Hey Sunshiners, Alexa Sunshine 83 here. So I'm sure you've seen the trend on TikTok and Instagram, propaganda I'm not falling for, to the song I Think About It All the Time by Charlie XCX, where people are sharing things that they are not being brainwashed into believing in. I've seen a couple of people bring it to YouTube, so I'd asked on my Instagram, what is fashion propaganda you're not falling for? And I'm gonna be going through some of the responses today. The first fashion propaganda I'm not falling for is my own, and it is espadrilles, which this was the thing that I got the most comments about on my Instagram reel. And I just have to say that I send all my love to the espadrilles community. It's not because I think they're ugly. It's literally because when I was 10, I wore heeled espadrilles on a boat and I fell. And so I am now holding a grudge against all espadrilles. I think there's definitely something very summery about it. So I totally get them, but just with the combination of the terror of falling in them, it's just a forever no for me. I got so many submissions of not falling for the Labubu's propaganda, and I do have to agree. I will say I actually think they're cute, and I watched a whole video about their story, but I feel their hype has gone too far. Like, people are getting in physical fights over them. I just rather buy something that's connected to something I enjoy, like this cat themed Nana keychain from Etsy. I've contemplated making a dedicated video about the trinket craze, but at this point, so many people already have, and I'd end up just repeating the same sentiments. So I'd recommend watching the Modern Girls video and also Nicole Raffy's video on it. I've only bought 2 blind boxes ever, and I ended up not getting the ones I wanted. I still like them, but it wasn't the ones I wanted, and that's kind of the whole risk when it comes to blind boxes, and kind of the whole point. You could buy 10 of the same blind box and still not get the one that you want, or not be able to complete a full set, and so you just keep buying more and more in hopes that you will end up finding that one, and that's just not worth it for me. I'd rather spend that money on vintage shoes, and it didn't give me that same high that it seems it gives to most people. So I'm good to never buy another blind box ever again, unless I was in Japan. I would make an exception if I was in Japan, because that's the original. Like, of course I have to buy a blind box in Japan. Of course. I don't think every person that collects trinkets is bad. Like, with all the awful things happening right now in the world, having something that can give you a small dose of happiness, like, I get it. Also, for a lot of people, it's a lifelong collection. It isn't a micro trend for them. However, there is the overconsumption side, the amount of plastic waste and unethical production. So yeah, not enough time in this video to go through all that. So I'd recommend watching those videos I had mentioned earlier. Propaganda you're not falling for is real low-rise jeans. Also, why aren't they calling them hip huggers? There's so much jean propaganda out there that people are trying to push. Low rise is more flattering, high rise is more flattering, etc. You all know how I feel about jean styles being a trend. Like, they are way too particular in the fits for there to be a generalization and push for everyone to wear one jean style, especially because yes, that may be the jean style, but I promise you in 5 years, those same people are gonna say that is outdated, now buy this new jean style, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to include this submission about real low-rise jeans, because anytime I see a video about someone styling low-rise jeans or talking about low-rise jeans, the first comment is almost always, that's mid-rise, not real low rise, even on my video. And I was like, no, these are real low rise jeans. It's under an 8-inch rise, which is considered a low rise measurement, but it's not the same as the low rise, like ultra low rise that we saw in the early 2000s. Current modern low rise is just not the same. Back then, the zipper was like the length of my pinky. So I agree that it could be more considered a hip hugger style, although being so used to a 12-inch rise measurement in my jeans and going to 8 inches, like that's low. That's very low. I could not do the ultra low rise of the early 2000s again, that the zippers a pinky. You would see my underwear, my butt crack would be fully out, and that's just like not the style that I'm personally wanting to go for. So again, I agree about the ultra like real low rise. Side note about rise styles looking different on every single person based on their proportions. A low rise on some people may look like a mid rise. I have a shorter torso and longer legs, so the 8-inch rise I would say looks more of like a proper mid rise on me because of the length of my torso. Which, talking about rise measurements, there's a lot of like confusion about what is actually considered a low rise, a mid rise, and a high rise. Even when I Googled it, like different articles told me different things. So I'm gonna say that 7-inch to 8-inch rise is a low rise, a 9-inch to 10-inch is a mid rise, and 11-inch and up is a high rise. So anything under a 7-inch is like an ultra low rise. No white after Labor Day is the silliest rule, especially because the history comes from classism in the early 19th century, where all the rich people from New York City would wear white during their summer vacations away, but pack them when they came back to the city for fall because of how dirty the New York City streets were at the time. And it was a big no-no for their white clothes to have dirt or stains on them because that was a signifier that they were from a lower class. So don't wear white after Labor Day because only poor people would do that. So yeah, let's put that one in the garbage. I think naturally people don't wear white as often during fall because of rain, and I think we like darker colors because it feels a little bit cozier during the fall. But a white dress during the fall, it still hits. Fashion propaganda you're not falling for is dressing for comfort is lazy. And I 100% agree that I don't agree that dressing for comfort is lazy. I agree that dressing comfortable is not lazy. Sorry, it was like a mind twister. I agree that I'm not falling for that propaganda that dressing for comfort is lazy. I agree with what they are saying. I saw a video of someone complaining about how casual everyone dresses nowadays. And yeah, I'd say 99% of people at the grocery store I go to, or even the mall, are wearing leggings, which is totally fine. I remember my grandma would have to put on a full face of makeup, a full outfit to be able to go to the grocery store, even just for 5 minutes, which she loved getting ready and like clothes and putting on makeup and all that. But what I'm saying is I just don't think it should be a universal must that you have to be giving, 10 out of 10 Pinterest girly full face makeup uncomfortable outfit just to go to the grocery store. Like, women were forced to always look a certain way in public when they couldn't own credit cards. Back to dressing comfortable being lazy. On social media, when we see outfits, especially from content creators that do it as a job, 9 times out of 10 they are just wearing that outfit for that one photo or for that video. That outfit is not being actively lived in, so it may not be realistic. I am personally not an athleisure clothing person outside of doing a workout, but I respect the Lululemon queens. I just think we've grown a little too comfortable with telling people our opinion on what looks good and what doesn't look good that we forget everyone has a different purpose with the outfit and pieces that they put together. And also, it's just your opinion. I'm sure there's someone else that would look at what you're wearing and say that doesn't look good to them. That's why when I do share clothing I don't like, I really try to drive home that it's just me personally, or maybe sharing if you're feeling blah about your outfits, that there's a different style you can try to see how it makes you feel versus just demonizing leggings. Not buying Shein or other fast fashion from the thrift, I think, is such a fascinating conversation because almost every brand at the thrift store is a fast fashion brand. Now, I understand not wanting to thrift certain fast fashion clothing items because the quality is horrendous, and there's been traces of lead allegedly in Shein clothes. But if you've been to a thrift store recently, I'm sure you've noticed a majority of the clothes being from modern, ultra fast fashion brands, because that's what people are mainly buying from, which is a whole separate conversation. But I'm so curious what's going to happen in 10 years, because I'm sure everything at the thrift store will be from Shein, Temu, Cider, Princess Polly, etc. Like, are we gonna see Depop resellers in 2035 lusting over the Shein cow print micro trend? Back to not buying fast fashion at the thrift store. I've received comments on thrifting videos whenever I've thrifted a fast fashion brand that I am promoting that brand and I'm supporting that brand because of thrifting that brand, and I just personally do not agree. Buying used Dolls Kill boots from Goodwill is not giving the owner of Dolls Kill money, or buying a Brandy Melville piece secondhand is not the same as buying a new Brandy Melville piece from the brand, which I'm not even gonna get fully into Brandy Melville stuff because I already talked about it in my like dedicated Brandy Melville video. But I ended up saying goodbye to all of my Brandy Melville pieces I've thrifted that have a recognizable graphic, because anytime I critique the brand, somebody would say that it's invalidated because I own Brandy Melville pieces, even though I've never bought anything new for Brandy Melville. It's always been secondhand, and if anything, I wanted to show the Brandy Melville customers that they can thrift their pieces instead of buying new and directly supporting the brand. But it's just not worth the argument anymore. So if you don't thrift fast fashion, that is totally all good, but don't look down upon people that do, because it's all secondhand. There is no environmental damage it causes from production because it already exists. Clear straps on a strapless bra. When I read this one, I had an immediate reaction of having a clear bra strap digging into my skin and causing lots of sweat and just overall discomfort. I feel like clear straps on a strapless bra was super normal when I did theater because you couldn't see the strap from the audience, but you still needed a strap because you were dancing. But other than that, like just go for a nude strap. The clear plastic is never gonna feel comfortable, and unless you're going on stage, you can still see the strap anyway. So either don't wear a strap or just go for a nude strap. The clear plastic, that propaganda, clear plastic strap on a bra, I am not falling for that. The push of products for summer is wild, and it is every season, but summer has such an aspirational element to it where we get a little brainwashed of what our summer looks like for us personally. Like the summer agenda of buying this dress for an imaginary Italian summer that I will not be having is enticing. Buying a certain swimsuit for a pool party gathering I am not invited to, just in case, is unnecessary. With any summer essential, just be realistic for your lifestyle. Do you need a dedicated beach bag if you're only gonna go to the beach once this summer? Can you use another bag that you already own that works totally perfect but just doesn't match the vibes of what you see on Pinterest? Now, I do have pretty easy access to a pool and a beach, so owning specific things for those is realistic because I'm gonna use them multiple times even throughout the year because of the climate I live in. I think influencers doing swimsuit try-on/reviews can be super helpful though, especially if it's someone with a similar body type as you. It can actually help you not make a purchasing regret, but just buying a bunch of new swimsuits for every summer when you end up just re-wearing your tried and true, like, there is a challenge with finding swimsuits that make you feel comfortable, and I think trying a bunch of different styles to find the perfect one for you totally makes sense. But that's why it would be awesome for brands to carry inclusive sizing in stores so people could try on before buying. My go-to swimsuit has been my Ukiyo Lisa Says Ga fruit one I got in 2021 that every year I'm so excited to whip out. Last year, You Swim had sent me one of their swimsuits and I really liked that. 2 years ago, I got one from Charlie Swim. Love their swimsuit. So I kind of rotate between those. I am contemplating buying a swimsuit this year, one that has more of a mid-rise bottom, because all of mine are high rise and I've just been dabbling more in, you know, mid-rise and low rise. So I think that could be a good addition, but I'm taking my time. I don't want to buy a bunch of mid-rise swimsuits. I just want to buy one. So that is definitely not a purchase I am rushing into, like we see with so many, buy these swimsuits now, buy these 5 swimsuits now. Everyone's wearing them. I think in short, don't fall for every new swimsuit launch that happens during the summer or summer essentials that you need to buy every year. Figure out what makes sense for you. Propaganda you're not falling for is not having any visible hair. Whenever I see a photo of someone feminine presenting on Instagram that has visible arm, leg, or armpit hair, literally the first comment is always something so horrendous and like, grow up. It's 2025. Is someone else's visible hair is giving you such a visceral reaction to where you need to comment something so rude, like go outside. I'm not one to support BetterHelp, but if you're having that type of loser behavior, just go sign up for a free trial and unpack some things. Deciding if you should shave or not shave should be a choice that you and only you should make. I have quite complicated feelings about surgery, filler, Botox, etc. because on one hand, I 100% believe people should do whatever they want with their bodies. It should be your body, your choice. And changing your hair, wearing makeup, or whitening your teeth is a form of body enhancement. However, two things can be true at the same time. The fact that most women in Hollywood do not have one forehead wrinkle, yet their male counterpart of the same age is praised for his, is dystopian. At 18, I wasn't thinking about wrinkles or needing anti-aging anything or starting preventative Botox now because of how my wrinkles could determine my worth as a person as I age. Like we've all seen the she aged gracefully versus she didn't age gracefully videos, and in most cases it's someone that has clearly had a facelift versus someone that hasn't had any major body enhancements. I actually knew a woman in her 60s in real life that bragged about how she never showed any major facial expressions throughout her life so she wouldn't get wrinkles, and how amazing she looks now. And yes, she didn't have any forehead wrinkles, but she was the rudest, most self-centered woman I have ever met. This is definitely a topic of deeper discussion, so sorry, I'm just scratching the surface, but I think the normalization of these procedures is damaging. Again, nuance. I personally never thought anything of my nose until I started social media. I've had many other insecurities throughout my life, and literally as women, the pages of things we need to change and hate about ourselves is never ending, but my nose was nothing I ever cared about. After seeing so many people with button noses, a majority of people online having button noses, and those that didn't have button noses then getting button noses, made me question if there was something wrong with my nose. And there isn't. I can breathe perfectly normal when all you're seeing is the same thing and people then getting procedures to be that same thing. Like, of course that's going to hit your insecurities and make you feel like, oh, maybe there is something wrong, because also there are people that then are telling you that your nose, because it's not a button nose or, you know, can be anything, is wrong because it's not sticking to the societal beauty standard. Of course, like if you want to change your nose, but I know for myself that was nothing that was ever an issue, and it was social media that was influencing me to think it was an issue. Like paying over $5,000 to change something about myself that I never cared about, so it would be for other people. No. One of my actual biggest insecurities my whole life has been my soft jawline, and the only Botox I've ever gotten has been in my jaw for TMJ back in 2021. I only got it once to see if it would help with my migraines. Unfortunately, it did not, but it did help me pay more attention to how much I was clenching my teeth throughout the day. But that type of Botox is also used to make your jawline look sharper. On me, it did not. It did not make any sort of difference in the look. But even if it did, to pay $500, at least where I live, for my jaw to be sharper, like listening to that back, just that it seems a little silly for me personally. And anytime I've kind of contemplated Botox or filler, I'm always like, I would rather spend that money on a tattoo or multiple tattoos with that amount. Also, I feel like with my insecurity of my soft jawline, changing it feels like it almost validates how much I hated myself as a kid. Like, I used to cry looking at photos of my face when I was 10 years old, even when I was 20 years old. And I just feel like I would rather be a person for child me to look at and say, hey, she has my jawline. Almost all my friends have Botox, and I'll be honest, I've made multiple appointments to get it done, but I always cancel because I just don't think, like, if I'm taking away kind of the societal beauty standard or whatever and just think about like forehead wrinkles on me, like I don't actually care. I really don't care enough to now start me having to get Botox for the rest of my life and paying that amount that I just don't really care enough about. But I could totally get Botox in the future. By the way, we live in a society that unfortunately does demonize wrinkles, and at the end of the day, like, people that are getting nose jobs, liposuction, Botox filler, etc. are just trying to survive. But even with getting all of that, I think you still can criticize and acknowledge the societal damages that these types of things cause. I don't think there should be judgment or hate towards people that get these procedures unless you are someone trying to sell something and saying that this magical serum is what got rid of your wrinkles, but it was actually Botox. That, no. A lot of the anti-Botox versus pro-Botox stuff I see is just putting other women down, like saying having wrinkles is more superior, and then the other side saying not having wrinkles is superior. Like, can't we just make a decision without putting someone else down?
Hey, what do you think about getting Botox? Ooh, that is a totally fair question, since Botox and other cosmetic alterations are becoming almost ubiquitous for women around my age or even younger, and I'm not immune to criticism, and it might improve the way that people perceive me. Like, I think a lot about losing the currency of youth, to quote Fleabag, as in I realize that the way that people treat me day to day will change once I'm no longer perceived as being youthful enough to be an object of desire or approval. Right. No, I guess. But I've seen a couple women recently express that they instantly regretted their Botox because they were no longer able to move their faces and they started feeling claustrophobic in their own bodies. Think about what that means. When we freeze our faces, we are self-optimizing for consumption rather than expression, and that is really scary to me. And of course, body alterations are nothing new historically, but the more people participate in a trend, the more it becomes an expectation rather than an active choice that an individual can make. I didn't realize this was gonna be a whole... So then the question becomes, am I going to have to get this procedure in order to be accepted at all? Is it a political act to not alter my body in an effort to maintain my youthful appearance? The more normalized these cosmetic procedures become, the more political it will be to choose to not participate. So we have to ask ourselves, how much do we want to be accepted and by whom? And is it an overstatement to say that aging naturally is radical self-acceptance? If I don't get Botox, maybe I lose the currency of youth faster, but it also means that no one can profit off of my face or my insecurity. And ultimately, insecurities are invented and reinvented all the time, and then we're sold a cure, and that's where patriarchy meets capitalism. And as we all know, capitalism is the root of all evil.
I meant for these to be more lighthearted, but y'all were serving me some deep, important discussions that I wanted to talk about. Let me know any of your thoughts, of course, if you agree or disagree. I originally meant to include fashion propaganda I am falling for in this video, but it's just way too long, so maybe I'll make a separate video on that, and that will probably be a lot more positive. If you would like to see my face again, then make sure to subscribe right down below, and also follow me on Instagram, which is alexsunshine83, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!